All right, we have another word problem. So this one has to do with nickels, dimes, and quarters. So word problems, always read the problem. And as I've said before, sometimes you have to read it. You definitely have to read it more than once, right? So 5 times, 10 times, however long it takes you to get the information out. Okay, so we have Mary has $5 in nickels, dimes, and quarters. If she has twice as many dimes as quarters and 45 more nickels and dimes, how many coins of each type does she have? All right, so I read it. Now let's focus on the question. What is the question? So scan it. Where do we see the question or task? It may not have to be a question, but what are you supposed to be doing? And it's right here, right? How many coins of each type does she have? So, well, how many types are there? There are nickels, dimes, and quarters. So those are going to be our variables. So we're going to let n be, let's say, the number of nickels. What else? D, the number of dimes. You could call them X, Y, and Z also, but using the starting letter makes them a little more significant. In Q, the number of quarters. You can also capitalize them if you want. Capital N, capital D, and capital Q. You can use X, Y, Z as long as you tell me what each variable represents. All right, so we have N is the number of nickels, D is the number of dimes, and Q is the number of quarters. And that's because the question is how many coins of each type does she have? So we're looking for the number of coins of each. All right, so let's go back to the problem. She has $5 worth of nickels, dimes, and quarters. So together, right, they equal $5. Now be careful. If I say N plus D plus Q equals $5, what is wrong with this? What's the problem here? Notice that N, D, and Q, we call them the number of nickels, right? So if I have 5 nickels, well, that doesn't give me an amount in dollars, right? This is the number of nickels, and this is a dollar amount. So I have to make sure that I write the value. So we want the value because equating it to $5. So we want the value. So I know that each nickel is worth 5 cents. So you can think of it as 5 cents or $0.05. So we kind of have to make a decision. Do we want our units to be cents or do we want our units to be dollars? So I'm going to want my units to be cents. So that means that if I have 2 nickels and each of them is worth 5 cents, so I'm going to do 2 times 5, so that's 10 cents. If I have 4 nickels, 4 times 5 is 20, so I should have 20 cents, and so on. So essentially, then 5 times the number of nickels gives me the value that I have in nickels. So we'll do the same thing with the other ones. How much is a dime worth? Well, a dime is worth 10 cents, so it's going to be 10 cents times the number of dimes, right? If I have 9 dimes, 10 times 9 will be 90, so I have 90 cents. So 10 times D is the value of the dimes, plus my 10 looks a little funky. And so how would you write the quarters? The value of the quarter will be 25 cents times however many quarters you have. And now, right, this is the value. And because I said I'm doing it in cents, $5, I need to convert it to cents. So $5 is how many cents? Or how much in cents? It's 500 cents. So I'm going to say 500 here because this is my value in cents. And why am I doing it in cents instead of dollars? I could do it in dollars. But like I said, in dollars is 0.05. So I will have 0.05 N plus 0.10 D plus 0.25 Q equals 5. Should I get the same answer? Of course, right? This one is just the decimal place. In order to go to cents, I moved the decimal place over or multiplied everything by 100, just so that I don't have to deal with decimals. Either one of these is okay. They're still going to give you the number of coins, but I want to deal with whole numbers instead of decimals. So I'm going to use the cents one. So using the cents equation, I'm going to have 5n plus 10d plus 25q equals 500 cents. But I can't really do anything with that, right? I have three variables, so I can't solve for either one of those. So let's go back to the problem. And this is where I say you have to read it multiple times, right? So Mary has $5 in nickels, dimes, and quarters if she has twice as many dimes as quarters. Okay, so there's a piece of information we haven't used. She has twice as many dimes as quarters. So what does that mean? Which one does she have more of? So we have twice as many dimes as quarters. What does that mean? So that means, well, which one do you have more of? We're going to have more dimes, right? Twice as many dimes, so that means that the number of dimes is twice the number of quarters. So if you have 3 quarters, you're going to have 6 dimes. You have 5 quarters, you're going to have 10 dimes. You have more dimes. So we can use that in here. So now it looks like I'm going to have Q and Q once I replace the D with 2Q. What was the other part that we haven't used? The other part is, and she has 45 more nickels than dimes. So we have 45 more nickels than dimes. Again, which one do we have more of? There are more nickels, right? There are 45 more nickels than dimes. So that means the number of nickels is the number of dimes and 45 more. So the number of dimes plus 45. 45 more nickels than dimes. I always think of like, well, which one do you have more of? Nickels. So that means nickels is the plus. Oftentimes the common mistake that I will see is people saying D equals N plus 45. But think about that. Which one do you have more of? Right? You have more nickels. So nickels should be the one that is the number of dimes plus the 45. But we also know from here that D is 2Q, so I can put that in here. So this is going to be 45 plus 2Q because dimes are 2Q. So now I can go back over here and put it all in terms of one variable. So 5n, n is 45 plus D, but D is 2Q. So I'm going to have 45 plus 2 times the number of quarters plus 10D, but D is 2Q. So 10 times 2Q plus 25Q equals 500. Right, I'm still in cents. And I'll multiply it out. So use your calculator, or depending how good you are at doing mental math here. So 5 times 45, 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 5 times 4 is 20, plus the 2 gives you 22. So I have 225 plus 10Q plus 10 times 2 is 20, 20Q plus 25Q equals 500. So notice that my goal was to try to get in terms of one variable, because right now I have 3 different variables. So I can't really do anything. So I had to go back to the problem and get this information so we can rewrite it. Combine my terms. I'm going to have 225 plus 10 plus 20 is 30, plus 25 is 55. Q equals 500. Subtract 225 from both sides, so 55Q equals 500 minus 225. What is that? 275, I believe. You know me, that is wrong. And divide both sides by 55 to get Q. And so we end up with Q is equal to 275 divided by 55. And using my calculator on that, I get 5. So what did I just find? Q equals 5. So let's go back to the top where we define Q. Q is the number of quarters. So I just found that Mary has 5 quarters. And we were trying to find how many of each type. So let's go back over here where we had the types. So we can say, remember D was, what did we say, 2Q? So that means that D is equal to 2 times 5. So since Mary has 5 quarters, she's going to have 10 dimes. And the nickels, what was the number of nickels? Nickels was 45 more than the number of dimes, right? Now that we have the number of dimes, we can say this is then 45 plus 10, so 55. So we can say now Mary has 55 nickels, 10 dimes, and 5 quarters. Does that give you $5? We can check it, right? Do the 55 times 5, the number of nickels times the value, plus 10 dimes times the value of the dime, and 5 quarters times the value of the quarter in cents equals what? We should get 500 cents. Is what we should get. So double check that. And 100, what's that, 100? Yeah, so we do get 500 cents. So it checks. Cool. And so this will be then your final answer. Mary has 55 nickels, 10 dimes, and 5 quarters. So I hope that those videos were helpful. Email me if you would like more videos. I do have time on Saturday morning to record perhaps a couple of more, or you can also just email me and ask for questions. You can attach your work and I can review it and give you feedback, okay?